The performance is about to begin. Please prepare yourselves for it. Before we start, we would like to give you some announcements. We respectfully remind the audience that the use of flashes when taking pictures is not permitted during the performance. Kindly refrain from standing up, leaving your seats, or raising your hand up so as not to obstruct someone from getting a good view of the performance. Please make sure that your mobile phones are switched off.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Today marks a special occasion for all of us. Today, as one family, we, the children of International Pioneer School, invite you to join us as we journey around the world through our eyes and bring together on stage the beauty and the soul of our diverse cultures.
First of all, we begin on a serious note and ask you all to rise and pay our highest respects to His Majesty the King as the Royal Anthem is played. Please stand.
From the music department shall now render a song calling us to a spirit of unity and peace. We respectfully request the audience to observe silence as we listen to the timeless message of the song.
It is my pleasure to call upon the current President of the Parent Council of International Pioneer School, Mr. Promit Kampavul, to give us his inspirational words on this afternoon. Mr. Promit Kampavul.
As fellow parents, teachers and students of International Pioneer School, it's my very, very great honor to be invited to give an opening speech to this very, very auspicious occasion where our children will be performing their heart out for all of us. I have a child studying at the IPS and she's going to year 1 and I represent her, but in my capacity as the president of the IPS Parent Council, I not just represent my child, I'm responsible for all the 400 students of the school. And I can say that because the Parent Council work closely with the school, directly or indirectly, on all matters concerning the development and the progress of the school. And so we work very closely together. And I'd like to take this opportunity because we're all parents here, and I'd like maybe the Parent Council members, will you stand up and let this all see who you are? Can you stand up? The Parent Council members, the current one, can you stand up? Yeah? Okay. All right. You can see some of them. They're very active in meetings and discuss. Thank you very much. This is the Parent Council is very strong, and we're going to try to do our best to help the school. And they put together a lot of effort to help with this event. Go on, I'd like to note a very, very noble objective of this event, which is for allowing the children and all of us to appreciate the value of cultural diversity. And for us, cultural diversity is very well represented and very well played at the international school. Our children is very fortunate to live this value of cultural diversity every day of their going to the school. And here today, they will play that out for you in their performances. And for me personally, cultural diversity, the value of it is for us to it's something that will allow us to see others, to think about others before we think about ourselves, to be giving, to be broad-minded and not narrow-minded. This is the key issue. This will make us a better person, and this is what we like our children to grow up to be a giving person, an understanding person, through the understanding of cultural diversity. And this aspect of learning, not in a classroom. Of course, IPS have a classroom type of learning, but this is the aspect of the outside classroom learning. That is a core focus of the studies and curriculum of the IPS, and I would like you to support this concept of learning by doing, to experience, to be creative, and to get involved, and to find out for themselves who they are and what the best they can be. And the concept of this whole learning is very important. And I thank you all, parents, be here and participate in this program. I'm sure our children will really, really appreciate this. I know that they work very hard. The teachers has been very instrumental and very encouraging, and worked with the children during the past days and months to get this going, to put this performance in place. And they have grind, they have practice, and I know they work very hard. And I'd like you all to give hands to all the teachers that have worked very hard for today to make it happen. So, in that respect, I thank the parents for coming. And at this moment, I'd like to declare the International Pioneer School International Cultural Day 2013 open. And I hope you all enjoy the show. Thank you very much.
We thank Mr. Promwit Khamhaibun for his encouraging message to us all. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the splendor of this afternoon's delights. This afternoon, we invite you to listen to the beat of our songs, move to the rhythm of our dances, and laugh and cry to the depth of our stories.
like the way that they put their prayers and fights in one dance.
Yeah, I never had an idea that a dance can be somebody's culture. Hey, speaking of dance and culture, I just remembered that we were doing a video project on the dances of the world. We have seen how talent included even in one fight. Will Trevor and Chakura different these dances?
Sure thing, I'm having Japanese lessons. So why not go to Japan first? I'm so curious about the Sakura dance.
Me too. I'm so curious about the Sakura dance. To Japan it is then.
Yeah, let's go.
Welcome to Japan, the land of the rising sun. Japanese culture is rich and diverse and is widely known for its traditional arts as well as its contemporary pop culture. One of the most popular festivals of Japan is the Sakura Festival. It is the Japanese way of celebrating the blossoming of cherry trees. Let us join our children from K1 move to the graceful rhythm of their Sakura dance.
信してますね Yeah 当然の数も増えてますベーシックはサプライズでマジ毎日が危ないぜみんな風景じゃ風だけど芸者ウェイクの惑星からのシャー
See me in the parking lot 7-Eleven is the spot Bikes with wings and shiny things and lions, tigers, bears, oh my ride We fierce and fast, supersonic like JJ Fatten We rock and the wheels are flat Can't beat that with a baseball bat
空が飛びさまたのいぜ即歳要因要塞出して国際的犯罪は犯罪これハンター我らがバナコストを出す今夜の4 boys from Far East Coast どうせ私のゴースト
What does that mean?
It's a Japanese word for cool.
Sugoi! So where do we want to go next?
How about going to the Philippines? We have many teachers from there. And I'm curious about their dance as well. It's gonna be so cool. Let's go.
Well, our Filipino teachers are from a country whose people remain resilient and hopeful in the midst of tough times. The pearl of the Orient Seas, the Philippines!
Mabuhay! This word means long live, an endearing word to welcome everyone to the Philippines. Our Year 1 students will entertain us with their festive and colorful flower dance during the Panagbenga Festival. The Panagbenga Festival, held in the month of February in Baguio City, the summer capital of the Philippines, was created as a tribute to the city's flowers and as a way to rise up from the devastation of the 1990 earthquake in the region of Luzon.
in New Zealand, a group of daring and resourceful adventurers, and considered some of the greatest navigators of all time. Let us join our students from Year 5 present the traditional war haka dance of the Maori warriors, proclaiming their strength and prowess in battles.
Maori princess cry, Haere, welcome to the land of the long white cloud. You are blessed, New Zealand.
Oh,
Incredible India, a vast country that is home to some of the most ancient civilizations, including some of the major cultures of the world. Now, our Year 10 students bring to stage India's amazing cultural diversity with its cultural dances from the different classical traditions from south to west, west to north.
The state which rests magnificently in the north, from the lofty peaks of Aravalli to the sand dunes of the Thar, from the lake passes of Udaipur to the rugged forts of Jaisalmer, Rajasthan is absolute grandeur. Come, let us live the life for the glory that is Rajasthan. A land of color and vibrance where the white sands of Kutch contrast with the vivid colors of the people's life. People who live life in all its effervescence. jewel of the crown of India, Kashmir boasts of its incredible variety of music and dance. Let us be charmed by the hues of this magical land.
Meet
home and where the finest merchandise on this side of the bazaar are on sale today. Let us ride on a magical carpet ride with the children of K2 as they bring us to see the whole new world.
food, wine and beer amongst the elite of ancient Egypt. A range of solemn to very lively performances that included acrobatics, wrestling, historical tableau, mythological religious depictions, temple dancers, and pygmies. Experience the many facets of a rich and extraordinary culture as Year 3 brings to life the magic and mystery of ancient Egypt.
like a high-heel boot on any world map. Italy prides itself with its renowned Italian pasta and exotic Italian pizza. Therefore, invites you to move with the graceful rhythm of their festive and colorful Venetian masters, the Carnevale!
See the diamond in the wedge. I recommend keep on wedding rings in the movies, and I'm not proud of my address. In a small town, no one's good than me. But every song's like gold teeth, wave goose tripping in the bedroom. All
Viva España! The lively, energetic rhythm of Spanish folk music and dance has captured the admiration of people all over the world. The famous flamenco includes cante, singing, talking, guitar playing, violin, dance, and palmas, handcrafts. Year 6 students shall swing, sway, and dance to the beat of the flamenco.
backgrounds and possesses a rich tradition and history, including the apartheid and the Nobel Peace Prize winner Nelson Mandela. Year 7 shall entertain us with their fast beat of their music and magical rapture of their movement.
Before we dance, we want to tell you a little about South Africa.
The country has had a turbulent history and has only recently become a democratic country.
Before the Europeans, there were many powerful kingdoms, including the Zulu, Xhosa, Xhosa, and Azawad.
The Dutch were the first Europeans to arrive, soon followed by the British. Europeans took land and resources of the Africa.
Many Indians, Malays, and others came to South Africa for work and stay, increasing the cultural diversity.
In 1948, the white government created apartheid and segregated the races. The racist government was very brutal. Africans were not allowed to own property or to go to school with whites.
The Indian, Malays, and Colours were also separated and not allowed to marry or go to school with other races.
Many races and nationalities fought against the oppressive government.
In retaliation, some were killed or simply disappeared.
Because of rebellion in the country and international pressure from outside, apartheid eventually ended in 1993. In 1994, all the people in South Africa were allowed to vote for a president for the first time.
Nelson Mandela was the first democratically elected president in the new South Africa.
In 2010, South Africa hosted the World Cup, a privilege that only a few countries have had.
Next, we will perform Waka Waka by Shakira, the theme song from 2010 World Cup hosted by Visalia, South Africa.
the home of the Football World Cup 2014. Welcome to Brazil. Known to be sports-loving people in the world with football as the most popular sport, the Brazilians are also fun-loving people of showing their lively, rhythmical dances. Enjoy the famous samba music rhythm of Brazil with the dancers from Year 2.
others, and has developed to become both a dance and a record of cultural records with implicit meanings and a spicy flavor. Year 8 invites you to a glorious treat of their powerful performance, the Calypso!
of the Aztecs set the picturesque city of pyramids, massive stone carvings, mile-long floating road, and hand-painted marketplaces remain a prime reason people come and visit vibrant Mexico. ENI students shall capture the building of this great civilization as they dance to the beat of a Mexican hip-hop.
Buenos dias. We are the Mexicans. We like to have fun and drink tequila. Tequila is our traditional drink. We, ENI, do not support the use of alcohol. And the use of alcohol in this show is fake. We, ENI, first of all, would like to show you how Mexico's flag was fought and various activities done by the Mexicans. Gracias.
Oye muñeca, ya mueve la cadera sobre el ritmo y las trompetas. Todo beat kick hard como escopeta. Vatos on the proud for the hood you looking fresca. Aunque delincuentes, venga para enfrente. Hazte para atrás si tú eres muy decente. Cause I'm chueco, ven, contact the hierba. Lo que será, será cuando lo salga. Get your eyes burn, head turn. People's tight back stiff and your neck hurt. And then you exert, check the vibe. Who got more freaky than I survived, I do who I tryna shoot I. So I mueva smooth
culture is split into 4 huge regions, with each regional dance representing its life and tradition. These 4 traditional dances are the northern dance, called Tian, the southern dance, Labang Talitipas, the central dance, Farmers dance, the northern dance, Sung Isan.
Well, what else can I say? Jaw-dropping performance, vibrant costumes, every colorful festivities.
Yeah, Believers makes you want to dance to the beat of feel. Just love their multicolored costumes. So classic.
What's music and dance without costume? And having said that, the stadium announcement has lots of those instruments. Let's go.
and that is. Words aren't enough to describe how awesome this experience has been. It was very educational and plus an entertaining one.
You bet. Plus the best part is, we can make friends from all over the world. Despite our differences in ethnicities, cultures, traditions, etc., we are more alike than different.
I totally agree 101% with you on that.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you all enjoyed that spectacular performance as much as we certainly did. Just so much work has gone into this great production. Well done!
I now join the audience to express our appreciation and thanks for this wonderful evening to all our performers. Let us welcome back to the stage the Sakura dancers from K1 and the dancers from Saudi Arabia of K2.
And the Samba dancers from year 2.
We request all parents to please be seated in the seats.
What a spectacular performance! We have witnessed a beautiful show! Lovely show! Well done, boys and girls! Keep it up! Our International Cultural Day today is a small effort to bring many cultures together, eliminating the fear of the unknown, and to have a better understanding among themselves. We as teachers have the power to change and mold the future of the world by promoting awareness about different cultures, tolerance, love, and peace among our students so that they can experience a better world in the future, which could also be passed on to the later generations. I hope that we all had an enjoyable afternoon of our students' performances and became really amazed at their talent. Hats off to our performers! I would like to extend my deep gratitude to our energetic and enthusiastic teachers, our unsung heroes who work very hard behind the scenes, reminding our young peoples of the importance of their cultural heritage and appreciation of other cultures. May I take a few more moments to request the excellent audience to join me to show appreciation for our teachers. I shall be calling their names and countries they have been responsible for. Teachers, please wave your hands as an acknowledgement, please. Rachani, Mary Grace, Kulachat, and Elmi for Japan! Ivari, Michelle, Shruti, Saudi Arabia! Sylvia, Cheryl, Daisy, Jessa for Philippines! Arlene, Mike, April Grace, Kantima for Brazil! May Joy, Christy, Egypt! Joy, Marita for Italy! Divya, May, Evelyn, New Zealand! Our Joy, Ringo, Spain! John, Narikau, Thailand. Crystal, Eileen, for opening song. Nissan, Narikau, Mark, John, Karen, Teacher Kelly, Sangeeta, Parvinder, Rose for background support. Evelyn, responsible for MCs and student actors. Michael Brown, Terrasco, spotlight and technical support and music behind. Shilpa for performers, squatting. Teacher Michael Tate, Irfan, and here learning students for crowd control. Teacher Irfan and here students for ushers. Miss Pon, Malika, Anika, Kanchi, and all our canteen staff for ticketing, gate, and food. Ekapong and Chakri, our camp crew members. And again, many thanks to our young MCs, Krishna, Gadera, and Larry. And our student actors, Om and Fatima. Last but not the least, please join your hands together in a show of appreciation to Teacher Janet and Teacher Monica. As program overall in charge and Miss Patrawan who coordinated behind the scene. Once again, thank you parents for joining us in this evening and have a happy and peaceful weekend. And please note that Monday is a holiday compensation and we meet again on Tuesday, December 3, 2013 at the school. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Miss Alka, for your words of thanks. Ladies and gentlemen, International Pioneer School echoes in one voice. It's a small world.
Let me share it, it's time to away.
girls. We request the parents to please be seated.